Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Shelley, otherwise known as the Stitching Colourist. So for today's video, when I usually do a video on myself, I usually put a bit of makeup on, but same as the other video that I just couldn't be bothered with it today. So I'm excited for this one. The reason why I'm excited is because this one is going to be 10 books that I have recently read. It's not necessarily going to be 10 top books that I've recently read, because a couple of these I just could not get into. So yeah, it's just 10 books that I've managed to get through since the start of the year, since January. I set myself a goal this year to read 20 books, and I'm halfway there and we're only in March. So without further ado, I'll start. Now, the first book that I did want to let you know that I have read, I have not actually got it physically with me here because I passed that on to my uncle. So I'm going to try and put a little, I don't know, a little thumbnail either here or here. So it is called Chaos, and it's about a story around about the 60s, and it is based on Charles Manson and his followers. Now, I've read books about him before. I've only ever read one, which was Helter Skelter, and that was really good. It was very informative. I could get into that one, but for some reason this one I could not want to. At first it was okay, because obviously not only did it not tell you about them, but it talked about the 60s and everything. I can't remember the name of the author because I've left that in my notebook downstairs. However, the book was written by a journalist. At first it was interesting, but then I felt throughout the book he was going too political into it, on about the politics and that through the 60s. And to be quite fair, politics does not interest me one little bit. And after a time I felt like the book, it was frying my brain. Now, I've not really felt like that about a read before, but this one, it was literally frying my brain and I just could not get into it. It was giving me a headache. It was making me really tired. So about 3/4 of the way through the book, I ended up ditching it. However, I classed it as a finish because I'd been 3/4 of the way through it. So the next one, now, kind of on the subject, but kind of not. Now, whenever we think of the past, obviously crime stories, whenever Sharon Tate is mentioned, you automatically think of the Manson family. Obviously, Sharon Tate was a actress in the 60s. Sadly, her life was cut short by the Manson family in 1969. It was the 9th of August, and she was 8 months pregnant. I wanted to read a story about her that didn't actually include the Manson family. I wanted to find out what she was like, what kind of a person she was like, without automatically associating it to that. So the only thing that I could find, because I did go in a bookshop and I was told there wasn't many biographies a lot about her, because obviously life was cut short tragically. However, something I did find was this. Now, I got this on, it was Amazon. I got this one. It was quite pricey for this one. It was about £25, and that's the least I've seen it for. So this is Sharon Tate Recollection, and it's by Deborah Tate, which is her sister, and it was forwarded by Roman Polanski, which was Sharon Tate's husband. Now it's a heavy book, it's hardback, it's thick, but this one I got through in a day, mainly because this one, it's more of a photograph book with inserts, little pieces of writing by people that knew her and knew her as a person. I found it as a really interesting read. I absolutely loved it. I felt like I actually got to know who she was without the whole Manson bit to it. Found out what she was like as a person, and she was absolutely, not to mention obviously being absolutely beautiful, she was also an absolutely beautiful person on the inside as well. She was very nice, very kind and caring person. And yeah, not sometimes books that I've read I normally pass on. However, this one I will be keeping this because it is, I think this one is going to be a bit rare as it goes on through the years. So yeah, it was a good one, that one. I really enjoyed that. So the next one, now I've just this second finished this, as in literally 5 minutes ago. This is Wicked Beyond Belief, and it is The Hunt for the Yorkshire Ripper, and it's updated edition. It was by Michael Bilton. A very thick book, 700 and odd pages long. I found this really interesting as well. It went really in depth about the police force. It doesn't just talk about obviously him, what he did and that, but it also talks about how the police force, how they caught him, the mistakes they made, which, let's face it, they made a lot of mistakes. However, they were under significant, and I mean significant, work pressures. So it just tells you about what it was like for the police force during the 70s and the 80s and everything. There was a little bit about at the back which had like indexes. I didn't go through that because I don't really read indexes in books. I'll just read the story and that is it. So yeah, if you do like your true crime, I recommend this. It's very thick, so you have to bear in mind it's not one that you can just get through. It will take your time, but it is for a really good book for if you do like your true life crimes. Now the RRP price on this was £9.99, however I only paid £4 for it from the works. Now this one I will pass on because once I've read these true crime books I don't go through them again. I'll just read them once, and to be quite fair, I'm not sure that I can read that again. So yeah, that one I will be passing on. So the next one, I love this. This is Sir Henry's Haunted Tales by Amanda Rosenbolt. Contributions by Brad Fido, based on the creations of Zach Glyros. Now, Sir Henry's Haunted Tale, this story, these books are based on the Sir Henry's Haunted Trail in Florida. It's like a haunt that you can go on. I first heard about Sir Henry's Haunted Trail when I started watching Tampa J on YouTube. I first started watching his filming locations in December, Christmas time. And then when I'd been through those, I started watching the Haunted Trails, and I found out he'd been on quite a few now, the Sir Henry's Haunted Trail. And I found out about that from there. Now, unfortunately, it looks like an amazing haunted trail to go on, but unfortunately, with it being in Florida, I'm in the UK. Sadly, it's something I'll never get to experience. Not never, unless I win the lottery. But yeah, if you do watch this video, some of you in the US, you may have been on this haunted trail. I could only imagine it is absolutely amazing. I love this book. Now, this is not that thick at all. My husband bought me this for, it was Mother's Day he actually got it me for, and I read this in one evening. I absolutely loved it. If you are in Florida and you ever do get to go on the Sir Henry's Haunted Trail, I do recommend reading this first because it tells you about the characters that are actually on the haunted trail, about their story. as such, and some of the characters it mentions in this book I've noted or remember them from when I've watched Tampa Jay's video. So if you are in Florida reading this book first, you'll get to know the characters, and then obviously when you go on the haunted trail, you'll get to meet the characters. So I definitely recommend that. It talks about each character. There's roughly about 6 or 8 characters, as well as Sir Henry, and it tells you a little bit about how they became the haunted characters, a little about their life. I don't want to say their life, their little bit of their backstory. It's not very long, it's only a couple of pages long because obviously it's a thin book, but you really feel like you get to know the characters in this book, and I couldn't recommend it enough. I absolutely loved it. So that will be a book I will be keeping. So I'm going to put that with my keeping pile. Now the next one, this is A Killer's Confession and a Mother's Fight for the Truth by Karen Edward. Now Karen Edward it's a story about, so it's got, I have lived every parent's worst nightmare. On what would have been my daughter's 29th birthday, Detective Superintendent Stephen Fulcher knocked on the door and told me my beautiful Becky was dead, found buried in a shallow grave in a remote field. Becky had been brutally murdered. So this is a mother's story about a daughter that went missing. She'd been missing for quite a few years, but then they found that somebody who had been caught for somebody's murder he'd confessed to another murder, and he showed them where the body was, and unfortunately the body was her daughter. But it tells you about the story about Stephen, actually I don't know whether it was Stephen Fulcher. No, it wasn't Stephen Fulcher that wrote this. Stephen Fulcher was the detective in it, and he actually got in a lot of trouble for the way he went about things, because he didn't go through the proper protocol, as you call it. However, if it wasn't for Stephen Fulcher, the detective, this mum, she wouldn't have known where her daughter was. It's an interesting read because it talks about obviously the life of Becky before she was killed. She had a tough life because obviously she dealt with, she was suffering from drug addiction, and it just talks about her life before that and what it was like for her, and also her mother trying to help her to get off the drugs and that. And any story like this, the books are interesting, but it's also always heartbreaking to read. I couldn't even imagine what her mum must have gone through. It's just unimaginable. So yeah, I do recommend reading it. Now this RRP price on this was £20, and then it went down to £6. However, I only got it for £1 because I got it on the sale section in the works, yeah. And I've had this book for quite a while, but I finally decided to pick it up and go through it, and it was a really interesting read. So yeah, I recommend that one. However, I will be passing that one on because, like I said, true crime stories, I only read them once and then they always get passed on. They're not as necessarily a set of books I like to keep. So anyway, that one will be going on. So the next one, I love this. Now my mother-in-law, she gave me this one from the set of flats that she lives at, because they have a little room where they put books in, where they've finished with books and they'll pass them on. My mother-in-law read this one and then she passed it on to me. This is Craw Tide and it is by Ruth Sutton. So it says, a gruesome discovery on the beach may just give local reporter Judy Farrow her first real chance to impress her editor. Assisted by young DC Sam Tognarelli, Judith is dragged into a dangerous mere of corruption and deceit where truth and justice struggle to prevail. Cumbrian author Ruth Sutton's first crime novel is set in England's rugged far northeast west and is the first in a new series of novels featuring journalist Judith Farrow. So there is actually, she's written a few books, Ruth Sutton, however, these are the Judith Farrow series. There's 3 in this series. This is the first one. The second one, I'm not sure if I have that on my Kindle. I might have it on my wish list on my Kindle, or the third one, I can't quite remember. But yeah, some of this is actually based in Cumbria and part of it is based in Morecambe Bay, which is where I live. So it doesn't name any specific places as such, it just talks about being in Morecambe Bay. I love this book, I really did. About the reporter that tries to uncover the truth about what happened to somebody that was found on the beach, that apparently came from a children's home. So I found that such an interesting read. The ending of it, now some books you do get happy endings. This one, it wasn't necessarily a happy ending, which I definitely feel like I really need to read the second one to this, so I will be reading that one. I enjoyed this, but however this one I will pass on because I need to get rid of some of my books now to make room for my new one. So I absolutely love that one. Now this one, I couldn't get into this. This one, this is The Ink Black Heart, and it's a straight novel, and it's by Robert Galbraith, aka J.K. Rowling. So yeah, I've seen these series, the Strike series on TV, and I really do like them. Yeah, I really do like them. My mother-in-law is a big, massive fan of Corman Strike. Tom Burke. She loves the book. She's read them over and over. When she does get the book, she does pass them on, her hardbacks to me, and she gets another copy of the paperback. This is one that she passed on to me. I think I read the first and second, but I don't remember reading any after that. This is about the 4th? I can't remember. Right, I started reading this. Now, my mother-in-law, even she said she had a problem reading this one at first. My mother-in-law, she goes through books like anything. This one, if you have read The Ink Black Heart by Robert Galbraith, you'll know this one. The beginning of it is a bit awkward because it's based on, there's a whole discussion in between people within this game community, like online typing, and the way that it's typed in the book, how you read it, it's like you're reading a conversation online in between, like a private chat group. And at first it was okay, but then I found when I went through the book, it's like, yeah, I'm struggling to read this, and I have to put it down. So the front of it says, when frantic, dishevelled Eddie Ladwell appears in the office begging to speak to her private detective, Robin Ellicott, doesn't know quite not what to make of the situation. The co-creator of popular cartoon The Ink Black Heart, Eddie is being persecuted by a mysterious online figure who goes by the, and I can't say that, of Anomaly. Eddie is desperate to uncover Anomaly's true identity. So, I just couldn't get into it. I think I must have gone about maybe past a quarter or halfway through. I have actually got the one book after this, and it's a shame because I'd like to know what happens in this one so I don't miss anything leading up to the next one, but I just don't think I'll be going back to this one. I will be passing this on because I know that I won't go back to it, and I'd rather somebody have it that I know that will enjoy the book. I have got the next one up and I will be reading that one, but yeah, I'm sorry, I just could not get into that. So that's a definite pass on. Now this one, I love this. Now this is the Assassination of Marilyn Monroe. Obviously I didn't love that. and it is by Donald H. Wolfe. Now, this was passed on. I've got to make sure that they don't want this back. My Uncle Paul passed this on to me, which my mother-in-law passed on to my uncle, then my uncle passed on to me, and I passed that book that I told you about at the beginning on to my uncle. I love this. Now, it was quite a thick book again. It doesn't just talk about the assassination of Marilyn Monroe. It talks about her life as growing up from when she was a child. Her obviously real name is Norma Jean, and it tells you about her life from, obviously she was in different foster homes in like orphanage and that, and it tells you about her career as an actress. I felt really sorry for her. I could not help but feel sorry for this woman. She was, all she wanted to do was to be loved, basically. And to be honest, I think she was passed from pillar to post by, I can't really start talking about it on YouTube, I feel, but by who she got involved with, I think she was just passed from pillar to post and used. It was, yeah, it was a bit of a heart-wrenching story, this one. She was such a beautiful woman, and yeah, I felt sorry for her. I could not help but feel really sorry for her, and yeah, that's all I can say about that one. I really did enjoy that. I will be asking my uncle if he does want this back. If he doesn't, then I will be passing this on. So that, if you ever do find that, I would recommend that you read that one. So the next one, I wanted to go for something different because I read a lot of true life crime stories and that. When I went to Manchester with my son recently, we went in January for his birthday treat. We went to the Waterstones because he wanted to get some books, and also Mummy wanted to get some books as well. So I picked up this. Now, I wasn't really looking for this one as such. I just wanted to get something different and open my horizons. So I thought, you know what, this cover of this looks good. If a cover of a book looks good, I will want to pick it up. But I do read the back of it as well to see if it's something that I would read. So I read the back and it said, now this obviously is called The 100 Loves of Juliet, and it is by Evelyn Sky. And it says on the back, it happens every time she comes back into my life, a memory lingering from the first night we met centuries ago. She has no idea who she is, of course, that her presence or absence in my life has defined my entire existence. Excuse me, I may go by Sebastian now, but my name was originally Romeo and hers was Juliet. So this was really good. It tells you about this woman. Basically, she moves to Alaska to start a new life. She's split with her husband who isn't. You want to scratch his eyeballs out, you just cannot stand him. And she meets this other man who's in Alaska, this fisherman, and it turns out, I ain't gonna tell you. I ain't gonna tell you because I feel like if I tell you, I'm gonna give the story away. If you love romance stories, I recommend this. This is again, the ending of this, it's not necessarily, it's kind of a happy ending, but it leaves it open to your own imagination of what's going to happen. And sometimes that can be good because you can put your own imagination to it and figure out your own ending. But then again, it can be a curse because you're like, no, do they live happily ever after or not? So yeah, I recommend this. Now, I paid full price for this. I think it was, I paid $18.99 for this one. Will I read this again? I don't know. I'm a bit reluctant to let go of it yet because I only basically bought it in January, February, and I've just read it once. So I think I'm going to hold on to this one for a little while. I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet. I'm undecisive about that one. It's not really a special edition. It's not signed, so I'm thinking I may pass that one on, or I might actually sell that one. Usually my books, I'll just pass them on, but I'm thinking this one I may actually sell that one, because I am on a couple of books on book sites on Facebook, so I might pass it on there. So that is that one. So undecisive about that one, so I'll put that one to the side. Now the last one is a book by Karen Rose. I first started reading Karen Slaughter, and then I found out about Karen Rose, and I found that they were quite similar in context and stories what they wrote. Karen Rose, I'm going in chronological order, is that what you call it? I'm going in order with these. Karen Slaughter I was going to go in order, but then I thought I've got nowhere to put all the books, so yeah. So which one is this? So it says, one by one, young girls disappear from their beds at night. Each one is pretty with long dark hair, and each one is found brutally murdered. As each girl is discovered, it becomes clearer to Special Agent Stephen Thatcher that there is a serial killer at work. Finding the person responsible is Stephen's overriding objective, and it doesn't help that his teenage son Brad is suddenly behaving strangely. So yeah, this one. Now the one I read before this was I Can See You, and that was book 10. The first one in this series was Don't Tell. I think this one's the second one, you know. I'm sure this is the second one in the order of books that Karen Rose writes them in. I absolutely love this. It was a good, interesting story. It was like a horror thriller. It was fiction. Obviously, it's not true. It's fiction. With Karen Rose books, they are to the point. To the point, I want to say. So if you do like your crime stories, if you like soft crime stories where it's not brutally honest and to the point, then I'd probably bear that in mind when you do come across one of Karen Rose books. However, if it doesn't really faze you, then I would say this is the book for you. I really enjoyed this one. I think I have got the third one that I will obviously be reading. So yeah, I absolutely love that one. So guys, that is my 10 books that I've read up to yet since January. So yeah, that one actually I couldn't get into. So guys, I think, to be honest, I'm going to put these all back in the bag in a minute. I think, to be honest, I'm doing quite well up to the moment. I actually doing exceptionally well. Throughout my reading time, past couple of years, I would get 4 books read a year, if that, if I was lucky, and then I would go months and months and months and months and months without reading. And then I'd suddenly read like 3 books in one go. However, the last 2 years, especially last year, I read a few books and I was quite impressed with what I actually got read. But this year, I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to get some books read. My shelving, I've actually taken down, because I've got kind of an overflow of books at the minute. I've taken down all the older books off the shelf and put them on the side, and I've put the new ones on the shelf. So I'm actually getting the older books that I've got read first, so I can get them gone and read, because I've had them long enough now. So yeah, I'm really enjoying my reading at the moment. It's like going into my own little world. It is. You go on lots of adventures. When you're reading true crime books, it can be a bit touchy, because it's not your own little world you necessarily want to go into. So my recommendations when you're reading true crime books is, maybe if you've read 1 or 2, have a break from it, go on to something light-hearted, something funny that makes you laugh, just to break that up a bit. It's what I usually do with my books. If I've read a true crime, I may read a fictional, like a happy-go-lucky book after that, just to lighten the mood a bit. So yeah, like I said, most of these I will pass on, minus the exception of one or two of them. These Karen Rose ones I was going to keep, but because of obviously shelving, I'm afraid I can't keep them, so it'll be ones that I have to do pass. This one, as I said, I'm unsure about that one. To be honest, I should really pass it on, because even though it was a good book, I doubt that I'll probably read it again. So yeah, I think I will pass that one on. The ones that I will keep is that one, because obviously my husband bought me that for Mother's Day and I read it in an evening, so I will keep that one. And this one, the Sharon Tate one, because I feel this one, it is going to be one that's rare, because like I said, there wasn't many books written about her biography, about actually her. So yeah, not to mention it's a nice book to keep in your collection, and I do like it. I really do like that one, so I will keep that one. So anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video, seeing what the latest 10 books that I've read. My favourite one out of all of them, do you know, I think it has to be the Marilyn Monroe one, because I've never read any books about her before, and I found it really informative, and it was nice to actually read about who she was and growing up and how she became the famous actress that she was. So yeah, I think that has to be my favourite one. So anyway guys, I'm going to get going now. If you have enjoyed the video, please feel free to give the video a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate that. Is there anything out there that you've read that I've not mentioned that you think I may like? Please, any recommendations, leave it in the descriptions below. I would really appreciate that, and I can go out and go and look for it and see if they've got it anywhere, and I'll let you know how I got on with it. Is there any book out there that you were thinking about getting but you're unsure, that you would like me to read and do a review on? I can solely do a review video on just that book if you'd like me to. So yeah, any suggestions, I'm open to them. I hope you like the curtain in the background. We are up to making a spooky bathroom. We eventually want to make it a spooky house, however it's going to take its time. So at the minute we're going for a spooky bathroom. So anyway guys, I'm going to get going now. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, please feel free to give the video a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate that. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, then please consider pressing that subscribe button. I would love to have you here. I just want to thank everyone for your continued support. If you're new to the channel or if you've been with the channel for a while, I really do appreciate it. And I'm going to get going now. And I'm going to go and pick out my next new book, what I'm going to read. So I'll see you again soon guys. Bye for now. Bye.